I'm Jane. Thank you very much for taking the time and checking this out. I appreciate it immensely. So I just wanted to share something, and this may sound a little weird at first. So I just left an event that was fantastic. It was a Blessing Way, I think is the name of it. So it's kind of like a baby shower, but not. Like, we didn't like give diapers and do all the things. However, we sat in circle and shared stories and blessed the mother and the baby and the space. And it was just a beautiful event. Something that I found really interesting is this morning when I woke up thinking about this beautiful gathering, I immediately started thinking about death. And I was like, well, that's a little bit morbid. And the more I sat with it, I know that death is just as beautiful as life, and we need to have death. Like, without death, we can't keep living, you know? And, you know, if we only had death, then, well, we'd all be dead. So, anyway, I got to thinking about how beautiful death is and how much room it creates for other things. So, you know, like, leaves fall off tree, they're dead, they nourish the soil to allow for more growth, right, for the tree. Plants and animals give their lives all the time so that we can continue living every single day. And our cells on our skin, they're dying, they're going away, you know, so that we can continue to live and have like beautiful, dewy, supple skin. So I have this beautiful, I feel like it's beautiful, relationship with death, and I welcome it. And even though some parts of it really suck, like the death of an aspect of us, you know, the death of certain egoic aspects. That's always a fun one to say goodbye to, because usually it doesn't come in packages that feel good, you know. Like, if, you know, yeah, anyway. So I feel like a lot of the energy movement that's happening in the cosmos that is going to be making big shifts. I mean, we've already seen the earthquake, right? So you know how, like, so I made a video a couple videos ago, or the last one, whatever, how like the sun and the earth lined up, they magnetized, basically. They, like, two of their polar ends were like, what? That's going to move the earth, you know? And I was like, oh, we're going to see some changes. So we're going to see it on the earth level. We're going to see it within ourselves. We're going to see it in relationships. We're going to see it expressed everywhere, because as above, so below. What's happening in the universe, it's happening within each one of us and in communities, because everything is one. You know, it's like the life of a cell is the same as the life of a me. And as more shifts occur, there will be feelings, perhaps, or experiences that are like death. You know, maybe it's the home that I've known is no longer my home. That's like a death, you know, because then it's like, what do I do? Well, you create something new, right? The job that we maybe had is no longer the job. Well, then that's a whole shift of, you know, well, I was a hairstylist, no, I'm not that anymore. There's a death to that. Well, then what else can I be, right? And it's this like identity shift, and I feel like that's what's coming up for the collective. Where, you know, it's kind of like, so I know I've been seeing, you know, the veil keeps getting lifted off layer and layer and layer at a time. And I feel like sometimes the layers get a little bit like bigger, and people are like, holy cow, this is reality. Oh my God, I've been plugged into a program my whole life. Can't unsee it, can't unknow it. And, you know, it's like when you unplug from the program, there's a whole death to that experience too. Like leaving the lifestyle of being drugged and distracted in the program and then being like super heart-centered, following your higher self's intentions. They're just, it's very interesting. It's like a rebirth and a death, same time. Or a birth and a death. Anyway. So what I am forecasting, and take this with a grain of salt. I don't mean this with any, well, take it with a grain of salt. If it resonates, awesome sauce. If not, totally cool. But what I am seeing is that this generation, probably if you're watching this, you're in this generation of me. And I feel like we are big trailblazers. And we are getting ready to step into very powerful paths that we are clearing and creating at the same time. I see us walking and creating these paths for the future generations to come up behind and create anew from. So for us to walk down this path, it's like we have these machetes, right? And we're clearing house. Like we are clearing the path. We're like, and the shit that we're clearing, it dies sometimes, right? It doesn't like, I don't personally, like, I don't like to like to completely whack at plants. I'm like, oh, let me be dainty about it and let me just prune off what I need. It's being natural. It wants to grow. So for me to feel like machete style, it's a little bit intense, right? So anyway, I digressed. But that clearing out of the things that are in the way of this path, it's like old programs, it's like judgments, it's the patriarchal living. And we talked about this today, so I'm going to share it because I feel like it's really valuable. You know, like there are certain belief systems that have been held in our reality for so long, and they're not really in alignment with our heart, and they're not in alignment with our higher self, because they're not in alignment with unconditional love and acceptance. So that's when I talk about the higher self, it's that consciousness and it's that vibration of unconditional love and acceptance. It's presence, it's being now. It's the only thing that's real anyway. Anyhow, part of the belief systems that we have been plugged into and programmed into were that of so much judgment and embarrassment and shame and guilt, and a lot of it had to do with our own bodies. Like, I remember growing up, I got in so much trouble because I said butthole. Like, I was like, you do not say that. And I probably never said vagina, ever. I remember one time I was at a babysitter's house. This, I'm gonna use a word, so like if you care about this, you're probably gonna want to like, anyway. So I remember I was at the babysitter's, and her son and his friend were a little older than me, and they taught me so very much about the female body. And I remember they used the word pussy, and I had no idea what it meant, like not even a clue. And I remember going home and being like, "Hey, Mom, you know, what's pussy?" And she was like, like, no, like that's down there and we don't talk about it. Like that's not okay. Like, don't use that word. And I was like, okay. And then I felt so embarrassed. I felt ashamed because I said a word that was bad and dirty, and it also meant my vagina, right? And that is, you know, like as a child, we explore our bodies and we touch it. And my generation was taught, like, no, don't touch it. Like, you should be ashamed of yourself, you know, cross your legs, be a lady. You know, like that was in the upbringing. And, you know, using words that weren't even remotely anatomically correct, you know, down there, back there, up there, in there. Like, And I'm not the first person to talk about this, but my point is that this generation that we're in, you know, having babies or raising children, like clearing out the old program so that when the child does a thing or says a thing that we don't automatically reach out and attack them, but allow them to be their child self, which is really uncomfortable because then we get to see that reflected back, that program, you know, back at us, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like love. It doesn't feel like freedom. You know, it doesn't feel like the wild nature of human that we're divinely righted to be. So we have this gifted task to clear out this path for all the littles that are coming up behind us. And I want to share what I feel like they are going to be saying about us in a future now when they look back at this now as a past experience. And they're going to be talking about how this generation, right? How this generation was brought up in the program, drugged and distracted like crazy. They were given shots after shots after shots of drugs to activate things in their body to make them unwell in their future human form. They were given foods that weren't even real foods, that didn't even grow. They were given foods that were plastic. They were made to drink water because they weren't informed of it. They were made to drink water that was filled with chlorine and fluoride. It started to calcify their pineal gland, you guys. And you know what they did? Because their parents went through very similar things in different ways. They went through wars, they went through depression, oppression, repression, suppression, slavery. They went through all that stuff. And a lot of them died or just came out of enough of the program to be like, I'm just going to mind my own business. Because I'm too afraid to actually be like, hey, y'all, that was fucked up. Right? Because they had already been so abused prior to that it would be conditioned to be too afraid to stand up and make the waves, right? So we're in this generation, like I said, that they're talking about in the story that I'm telling, about how we had all these experiences, drugged, distracted, told things about our bodies that are untrue, being told that we must rely on a system to be well, and all this other crazy stuff. And that we're the generation that they'll say this about. And they're going to say, and you know what they did? They woke up. They remembered who they were in this realm. They remembered that they were made of energy, made of divine love, connected to infinite intelligence. They remembered they are God source, that we all are. Not only did they remember it, but they were fearless, they were courageous, and they did something about it. They cleared out the path for us. They completely changed their body, they completely changed their thoughts, they completely changed the words that came out of their mouth. And in doing so, y'all, they completely changed the entire landscape for humanity, for us, says the children. This is our gift. We get to change the landscape, and Mother Earth is going to go ahead and help us out. She is going to be clearing and changing very, very much, very, very soon. And it's not so that we can be scared and freak out, but maybe it's to be prepared and be like, you know what, we're going to be fine. Don't know how, don't know what it's going to look like. Maybe it's going to look like the entire globe moves because the magnetic poles are moving way fast now. Big earthquakes. We're seeing the big earthquakes because it's happening now stateside. These big 7-point whatevers. They've been happening around the globe and they're not sharing this on the media. It's starting to move bigger and faster. Again, not to be scary, but to be like, okay, so now we're doing it, y'all. Now we're going to start really focusing on these changes that are in our path, and we're going to keep on going. We're going to keep our third eye open and focused. We're going to keep connected to source energy. We're going to keep our feet firmly planted on this ground and our heart open. And we are going to say, okay, we can do this. We're doing this. We got this. Because this is the generation that we get to do this. We get to clear the path. We get to watch death and life at the same time with a neutral eye. We get to do this for the future generations so that they can step into the shoes of the stewards of this land that we have the shoes on as well, but half of us don't even know how to do so. I wanted to share this message today. I feel like it's very loud and coming in so much that it's like, you have to share this, Jane. It's like, I've been seeing a lot of the earth movement, and I'm like, I don't want to freak people out or whatever. And maybe I'll be completely, totally wrong, and I'm literally just tapping into another timeline. Cool beans. Totally cool with that. However, if the timeline that I'm tapping into now, timeline, whatever, I feel like it's a little bit closer than far. And we get to create this new earth. So I hope that this message was inspiring. I feel like we're going to have a lot of choices to make coming up very soon, like in August, like by mid-August. I know me personally, I'm feeling it big time. I'm also setting myself up just so I can make big decisions. Just trust that whatever decisions that you're making go from your heart. You can't fuck it up. You're doing great. Keep on moving. You know how the earth is moving all the stuff around, it's like clearing out, and then we're like clearing out, this is my machete, clearing out. We're like clearing out all this stuff. So when it clears out within us, it can feel crazy, you guys. It can feel like depression. It can feel like I just want to hide. It can feel like anxiety. It can feel like physical symptoms. It can feel like cloggy, stuffy in the like 5th and 6th chakra area. My eyes have been like doing weird things lately. My voice has been a little bit off. Whatever. Okay. It's energy that's coming in. I'm integrating new energy into my physical vessel. It's not going to be the most comfortable, but that's okay. It's not painful. I'm also going with it, right? Like when I get these waves of, you know, oh my God, did I say something stupid, and start to doubt myself, then I remember that's, oh, wait, okay, I'm feeling doubt. And I might feel it for a day, but I'm not going to beat myself up and say, you dumbass, you shouldn't be feeling doubt. What's wrong with you? I'm going to bring a really big awareness to the fact that I'm doubting myself and that I may not know what I'm doing, because, side note, y'all, we've never done this before. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. We have never lived this day before. We've never lived tomorrow, ever. In fact, if you think about it, we never live tomorrow. We only live today. Yesterday, we apparently did it, but we can't even do it again because it was yesterday. We can only do today. And because we've never done this before, we get to consciously create this new landscape of Earth. We get to be present, we get to be aligned, and we get to say, fuck this whole paradigm bullshit and the patriarchy crap. Screw that. I'm going to live this life for me, my heart, my purpose, to be in service and in stewardship to all beings everywhere. And in doing so, all the people that are growing up, whether they're 800 years old, 80 years old, 8 years old, or 8 days old, we're all growing up on some level, right? Toward enlightenment, toward death, toward a bigger body, a newer body, whatever. We're all growing. So if I'm doing what I feel is so in alignment and clearing and creating and moving forward, that everyone else that's growing in any other space can feel safe to do so as well. Our generation, the ones before us, so many were scared to grow. They were scared to change. I don't blame them, and I am so grateful for them. I'm starting to tear up because I'm so grateful that everyone that has come before us, before me, has gone through some of the crazy shit that they've gone through. The abuse, the beliefs that they took to their grave, that were not truths. I'm so grateful for all of the men who have worn the shields around their heart, and for all the women who have been victims of that shielding. For without them, I would not have the inspiration to open up my heart and to stand up courageously and to create for the kids that I don't have. So I don't have children. I'm not gonna have them. But I have such a love for them and what they are growing through their autisms. Let me put labels on them. Through their autisms and through their gender fluidities, because there's a generation below mine, like age-wise, that's like full of so many beings that get to be accepted by us. They get to be nurtured and supported and cared for by us. So I get to look at the previous generations and their lack of capacity to do so, the intensity to which they were plugged into the program. I'm doing what they couldn't do for so many of us because we needed them to not be able to do it so that we could grow up and feel our powerful selves like, yeah, I did this. So we get to clear out and move forward courageously for the next generations with so much love and so much acceptance, so much compassion. And we get to do it creatively. So it's going to look different. It's going to look different for everyone. So whatever it looks like to you to share love, true love, and to share it, show it, to be it, to speak it, to dance it, to move it, please do. Because the other generations need to see us being courageous, loving, forgiving, open love nuggets that they already are. They get to see that reflected back to them from us. And again, I thank all the other generations, whatever age they are, whatever timeline they were in, for going through all the stuff that they went through. They didn't know how much of a path they were laying for us. Now we just get to clear it. The path is there. So that's what came up for me today that I felt very compelled to share. It's about death. After going to a blessing way where a baby is being born and the beauty of the balance in life and our roles in it, individually and collectively, as this beautiful human tribe that we are all a part of. So I hope that this was of service and inspiring and joyful, and yeah, that's kind of what I hope. If there's any support in your ascension and how to clear this path and how to unplug from the matrix, from the paradigm, from the belief systems that are not serving your heart, from the thought loops that are preventing you from hearing what your higher self and your heart are trying to tell you. If you need any support, it's what I do. It's my specialty. So if you're interested, you can click one of the links below. You can also put the thumbs up-y thing on this. You can also subscribe. You can also share this with anyone that you may find helpful. You can pay it forward. It's free. Ha ha. Anyway, I had teared up enough, so now I'm snotting. So I'm gonna go blow my nose. So I appreciate you taking the time and sharing this time and watching this. I appreciate it immensely. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your now. And I will see you all on another one. Bye.